I always love my little things in the beginning there. I like to give myself a round of applause, and I also like to give myself a drum roll. Drum roll, please. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever. You know what? I don't know. We're on all sorts here. We got Eastern Standard Time, Pacific Standard Time. Some people listen from across the freaking world. So, whatever it is, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, happy Wednesday if it is Wednesday. And you are tuned in now to Sex Talk with Karen and Amy. And for those of you that are just new on here, please make sure you hit that thumbs up follow button, and this way you will get alerted anytime we are live. And if you are catching this on the replay, you can always listen to this on any of your favorite podcast platforms. So I'm seeing a few people here. Gabriel. I'm very bad with saying names. If I'm screwing up, forgive me. Jimmy, excuse me. And Amy, I see you, but you gotta join the call. Are you here? You're not on with me. So you have to join the call. Let's see. Come on, Amy. I know you can do it. You got to hit the button so you enter. I'm not sure if I can. Amy, you there? Amy, okay. Well, I'll just invite. Okay, we sent an invite. I don't know what happened there. Let's see what happened. Amy is now in. Are you here, Amy?
Hi, Karen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
There we go.
There you go. Well, I could say, well, for you, it's good morning, right? Because what is it, 9 o'clock by you?
It's 9 o'clock. I'm still drinking my coffee out of my New York City mug.
Yeah, right. Well, that's cool. You had to get in the feel for it, right? Because
Yes.
you got the New York. Yes, I actually got a little bit of a later start than usual today. My son, school trip, is going to see a Broadway show. And so I had to take him to the train station instead of to school. So I actually got like an extra, I don't know, hour or two of sleep. I actually like got home and made my coffee, and I was finishing it up, and here we are. So we're both like in the same realm after finishing coffee.
Exactly. We're in the same energy zone here.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. Jimmy said, judging by the sounds, like it's going to be an interesting show and a good show. Well, we appreciate your positivity on that one. And you know what? I'm all for having good shows and fun shows. And I have to say that it isn't easy doing shows because you don't always keep people's attention depending on what you're talking about, because some people like to just like, especially if we do a sex show, like people want to hear like about like down and dirty sex, right? Which, don't get me wrong, I do talk about, and I've brought some of those things to light, but a lot of people don't think about all the aspects. So it's difficult to have a show that is well-rounded enough that we can keep everybody's interest, peaked. So if you guys are, listening and you want to share this out on, any of your Facebook pages or, social media, please do, because it's always fun having people participate, because you can add your comments in the buttons here. Amy, do you have the volume up? Because I hear like an echo. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I hear myself. Maybe you need to lower it, or do you have it like somewhere it's something, because okay, now I don't hear it anymore. So whatever you just did was good. So yes, today during Sex Talk, we're talking about, is sex ever safe? And now you're going to laugh at me. I'm a big Sex in the City girl, and I was watching one of their, they put it on cable like every episode for like, whatever, for like 2 days, and I've seen every episode 3,229 times, but I watch it. So one of the episodes was, is sex ever safe? And I'm like, I like it. And the funny thing is that depending on who you're talking to, the conversation changes, right? Because everybody looks at what safe sex, right? Amy, if you heard is sex ever safe? What would be like, there's like how many answers to that question, right? Like, what would be the first thing that somebody would think when you say, is sex safe? What do you think the first thing would be?
Well, when you said that to me, it made my brain start thinking of a lot of different things. Because when we think of the word safe sex, we instantly start thinking about the devices that we're using to keep ourselves protected and thinking about STDs and whatnot. And
Correct.
immediately, though, when you said that to me, the first thing that I thought about, because this is what something that I've been personally exploring and looking at, is the energy behind it.
Mm.
And when we
Yep.
think about the act and how it's like literally the most powerful life force that we can ever participate in, it's like the total mind, body, spirit, everything coming together at one moment. And when I was thinking about that, I mean, think about all that we are downloading from that other person and
Yep.
all of the people that they have downloaded into their mind, body, and spirit through that act. And so that's what I wanted to talk with you about today, is just
Yeah.
people thinking about that, and how can we detox some of those past experiences, because I don't think we realize that truly can affect our mental health, drain our
Mm-hmm.
energy. It
Mm-hmm.
blocks happiness. It even blocks success. And on the flip side, when it's a fantastic experience, what that can do to elevate our mind, body, and spirit. So that's what I
Right.
wanted to talk with you about today.
Well, it's funny that I saw your post and you said the download. And it's funny because, in this world, this is how, we view things, right? Because everything is a freaking download. So,
Yeah.
it's very true. And I've had one of my, best friends is a healer. And I remember when she was doing sessions on me, and like we had talked about that, and she would say to me, and even those of us that are in tune energetically, even if I mean, there's something, and I don't know, this is a little deep for certain people, but there's, energetically, you can put a shield up around your energy so that other people, you know how some people, so just to break it down for some people that may not understand this, and I've spoken about this a lot on my shows, you know how sometimes you walk in a room or you meet somebody and like right away you feel happy, you feel excited, you feel stimulated, and you just like being around that person. So that's energy that you're feeling, right? And that's speaking to you. The same way you can walk in a room and you can meet somebody and all of a sudden you're like, ugh, like what's wrong with me? Like, and you're looking at this person, you don't want to sit close to them, you don't want to be in their vicinity. And most people that are not energetically in tune, they don't understand what's going on. And they're like, just pushing themselves through it. So that's energy. The same way that if you're going to do something and you say, something don't feel right about this, it's energy. And so many of us don't trust that because we're taught that the mind, right? We believe in the brain because the brain can convince us of things, and then we go against the gut. So
Yes.
it's very and energetically speaking, and I learned this very recently actually. If you are having sex with someone, you cannot protect your energy because at that point, the cliche, two hearts become one. Whether or not you love each other or not is really insignificant. But when your aura and that person's aura are together, you are sharing that energy, good, bad, or indifferent. So if you put yourself into a situation with somebody and the energy isn't right, it's true. You have now downloaded someone else's depression, anxiety, the list goes on, right? Or you have now downloaded some positivity, some, a love, whatever the case may be. So a lot of people, is safe ever set that? Is sex ever safe? Is like tenfold. And I always ask questions like that, tenfold questions, because I like to keep it open. So I think, to go further into what you were saying, that pretty much makes people, I think it makes a better picture. Did I paint the picture a little clearer, you think, for listeners that might not be, this might be something new to them?
Beautifully said, perfectly said. I couldn't have said it better.
Oh,
And it's
thank
like,
you.
I really feel like our instincts and our gut and our intuition know. And how many times have we gotten ourselves into a situation where we're feeling like, oh, I don't really know. Or on the
Right.
flip side, like you said, like, oh my gosh, you feel this sensation of euphoric, just passion and excitement, and what that person can give, both positive and negative, because it literally shifts us, whether we
Right.
want to believe that or not. It does.
Right. And so the thing is that what you have to do, in my opinion and in my experiences, you have to be aware of that. So it's just like this, right? And let's be like straight up, because sex is something that, especially, I mean, when you get older, you have a little bit more of an understanding of it, right? But especially when, like, you're led around by your hormones, right? So you're like, I don't care if I'm gonna die in the next 7 minutes. If I can have sex now with this freaking hottie, I'm all in, like, whatever, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's hard because now you could, like, I mean, I've done it not 8 million times, but I know when I was younger, I used to say men are just toys for me to play with. I want to put them up on a shelf, and whichever one I want to play with that day is the one that I'm going to have. Now, that's obviously ridiculous, right? But when the thing is that sex can be just sex, but you have to enter it knowing that sex is just sex and you're getting the physical aspect of it. But if you aren't spiritually strong, and even if you are spiritually strong, you have no defense, because you are now allowing this person into your realm, into your universe. So it's really hard because, let's face it, we're all human, and most of us have, we are animals, right? And so we have that animalistic thing, and you see somebody that you find hot, sexy, whatever the case may be. It's not always easy to say to yourself, well, I don't think this person is energetically in a place that I should be having sex with them. I don't give a flip about your energy. Let's get it on. You're hot as shit. Let's go, but it is, so it's
Yeah.
very hard, because most of the times the ones that are the ones that you're going to have fun with for the next whatever amount of hours, those are the worst people for you to have
Yes.
around you, So how do we do that? How do we have safe sex? Quote, air quotations. How do we have safe sex? How do we do it?
Oh my gosh, that's such a big question and a hard one to answer. I
Look,
mean, it's
Adrian.
well, and I
Adrian said
think too,
condoms.
condoms. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully that blocks some of the downloads. I don't completely know about believe in that,
Mm,
because I have my
no.
own perspectives about plastic and rubber and all these things. But anyway, yeah, and when you talked about too how we just get physically attracted to somebody and we're like, oh my gosh,
Yep.
that person I'm gonna have. But you know how sometimes then they start to speak, and it's like,
Oh, yeah. No, no, no.
so
Don't do that. Shh. Don't talk. Don't talk.
like, please don't
Just,
talk. Please don't
no, no,
talk.
no. Don't
That
talk. Take your shirt off and shut the fuck up. All right. Let.
But maybe we
Yeah.
need to talk a bit more sometimes
No,
before we.
no,
No, no,
no, no,
no.
no. Don't ruin it, Amy. No, you're right. 100%.
And I think sometimes that's where, some of our vices too, our alcohol and things like that, it kind of
Yeah.
it fogs the judgment because you're
Yeah.
physically looking at someone and you're attracted, but mentally you're fogged and you get
Right.
yourself into a situation, and then when it's done or the next day or the next week, you feel off. It wasn't right. And so it's like,
Yeah.
how do we get that feel, that emotional, that physical feel out of us? How would you
Yeah.
how would you feel that somebody could, what they could think about to remove that aura out of their body?
So that's how I understood and learned about this. So, for anybody that's just jumping in right now, thank you guys for joining us. You're listening to Sex Talk with Karen and Amy. Um, if you're listening right now, hit that follow button so that every time I go live or we're live, you can be alerted that we are live and you can participate. And if, again, you're listening after and it's the recorded version, any of your favorite podcasts, we are there. So today we are talking about, is sex ever safe? So now, obviously, we know about safe sex, use a condom or whatever, whatever the hell. I mean, now with COVID, I talked about, like, you need like a hazmat suit, gloves, doggy style, like I had the whole thing down because it's so true. Like, now forget about it, right? But what we're talking about, is sex ever safe? So obviously we know, and we're telling you, obviously, if you're going to have sex, you need to be safe because you don't want to get pregnant. You don't want to get STDs. You don't want to get any of that stuff. But we're talking about, is sex safe for you as like a being, right? So energetically and such. And so we were just talking about, so Amy just said, well, okay, so let's say that we give in to our animalistic things, right? And we just, like I said, the guy's hot, I'm doing them, that's it, right? So now we did it, and now, okay, maybe we had a great time, but now it's like a couple of days later and you're not really feeling like yourself. Something's off, like Amy just said. Now what do you do? Why do you feel this way? Right? So now maybe a woman might feel, well, women, don't typically do well with one night stands because we need more of a connection and we feel used. Or maybe the guy does too. Maybe the guy's like, this woman just totally told me to shut up and take my shirt off. I feel used. And so now what do you do with that? So I can tell you from personal experience, because as I said, one of my, best friends is a healer. And she did a session on me and it came up. She's like, when you were 48 years old, you had sex with someone and you got their despair or whatever the hell the word. And I go, like, really? Like, and luckily I wasn't sleeping with 30 people at the time. So I knew exactly who it was. And I'm like, wow, that's deep. And I had said to her, another time I was going to see somebody and I said, I need my shield up, can you help me, shield me so that I don't, grab their energy. So she's like, no problem. I got it. And then I said, well, cause I'm probably going to be a bad girl. And she's like, oh, well then all bets are off, because if you're having sex with that person, I can't do anything about that because now you are, like I said, two hearts become one. So you have to, I think, I mean, Amy, has it happened to you? Have you had sex with somebody and then recognized that you were feeling, I mean, am I putting you on the spot to ask you this? But
No, I love that, because that's what's kind of put me in a place of doing some research to figure out, what can I do from home without visiting a healer, without going, just what can I
yes.
do? So I've started to do a lot of reading about it because I'm a very spiritual person. So for those people watching, whether you are or aren't, this hopefully will just kind of help inspire some thought.
Uh-huh.
But and the longer we have sex with someone, whether it's a one night stand or if it's someone that we've been in a relationship, relationships, we're downloading that person's energy and aura often. And so, if somebody is just feeling off balance, feeling like sluggish, their energy isn't there. This is something to think about and explore. So what I started to read about was, and this is kind of interesting to think about, but to write down a list of your partners if you can remember them.
Oh,
And really,
Jesus.
and I know Karen's like, oh no.
That's gonna look like the
Or
Declaration of Independence. What are you kidding? No, I'm only
or
kidding.
think about the ones that you want to remove. And I hate to bring up this topic, but gosh,
Huh.
maybe it was even abuse or rape, or
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
it,
Very
some things
true.
like that. But to write them
Right.
down
Okay.
and to journal your thoughts. What were you attracted about that person, or on the flip side, not? Just take a moment to jot it down, write it on a piece of paper, light a candle and burn it.
Burn that fucker.
Burn that because it's a form of release. You've got to
Right.
process it, you've got to get rid of it, and you'll feel a feeling of just being lighter and a freshness, a new virginity to start over.
Oh
And
my
then,
goodness.
isn't
Wait,
that cool?
Amy. Yeah, it is. But Amy, I just have to say, we have someone on. Hi, friends. I am
Hi.
Chic from India. I love it.
Hello, I love
I love
that.
it.
Hi,
I
Chic.
love it. That is
Oh, we're wrapping around the
awesome.
globe with this
Yeah.
topic. I love
And
it.
Adrian is on, and Adrian is in Iran.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah. Yeah, we got a lot of people from all over. I see John on here too, and
Hi
I think
guys.
Vanessa. Thank you guys for joining us. We see you. Don't think we didn't see you. Hit those like buttons. So that's very interesting what you were just saying. So just in case anybody's just joining us, we're doing sex talk with Karen and Amy, and we're seeing, is sex ever safe? So it's very interesting. So now I want to add a flip to that, Amy. So what I want to add to it is, I think that what you just said is a great practice, and I have told my son to do that with people. Like, he had experiences that really upset him, and I told him to write it down, and we went to the sink and we burned it and released it. The thing that I always find that's the biggest issue is that people do not realize what they're feeling. So a
Yeah.
lot of times if you deal with a healer or something, like, I know, it's like you have to ask, is this mine? Does this belong to me? So you have to be, and this is with everything, everybody that I have on the show, well, not everybody, but a lot of people I have on the show, my whole reason for being is you need to be self-aware. So
Yes.
if you don't realize that you're putting yourself, because everybody, oh, I can't meet a good guy, I can't meet a good girl. Well, where's the common denominator?
Mm-hmm.
You. So, like, what is it that you're doing that's attracting these type of, and then everybody, oh no, that's not it. It's, everybody's crazy. Okay, I'll give you that. But you know what? You have to take accountability. So that's the whole issue, is that you have to turn around and say to yourself, because let me tell you something. So on the flip side, right? So now you talk about people. Now, I'm not one to sleep around. So if I'm with somebody or I'm sleeping with somebody, I'm sleeping with that person. I'm not sleeping with other people, whether we're in a committed relationship or not. That's just me, on the norm. So, I know that I know what to expect. You learn what to expect. Like you said, it could be a one night stand, or if it's something that is a continual type of a thing. So I think, and I may be wrong about this, and you may know better than me, or my healer might be like, like smacking me for saying this, but I feel like once you recognize you're able, like, I'm able to take what I need and discard the rest. It's like if you order, if you're on a keto diet and you're ordering, steak, and it comes with, mashed potatoes, you're just going to eat the steak because you don't want to eat the mashed potatoes because that's going to throw you out of ketosis. So sometimes the mashed potatoes get on the steak and you have that piece that has some mashed potatoes on it, right? But maybe it won't throw you out of ketosis. So again, I'm that's like roulette. to say, and I'm
Yeah.
not. Please do not try this at home. But I think that I've learned that I need very little. So if I can get somebody that can just help my energy, um, because sometimes it's like we need that life force. And I
Yes.
feel like sometimes if I can just get that energy, I'm aware that it's good and bad, and I try to filter it so that I'm grabbing the good part of it. But I guess the only way you could do that is with awareness. Now, do you think I'm crazy for what I just said, Amy?
No, I love that because our mind plays such a big piece in all of this. So I think, your discussion about being, self-aware and to pick and choose what we are allowing our brain to reminisce and think about that particular situation or person is
Right.
important. And I love how, because Karen, the way that she's describing it with the meat and the potatoes, she ate some of the potato, but she's not going to emphasize her mind on that negative aspect. She's focusing on the good aspects of that meal, that person, that thing. And so, I think that there's an element of choice as to what we're accepting in our body. Even when we participate in that act, Karen is choosing to focus on the good in that
Yeah.
person, and that,
Well, and not to download the crap, right? The
right.
part that we don't want. So I do think that you're right. I feel I'm a very headstrong person, as I know you are.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's very important. But the problem is this: sometimes we are not at our strongest. And that is when you don't put yourself in that situation. Like what
Yeah.
Amy just said before. If you're drinking and it's clouding your judgment, or you're in an altered state, you're depressed, you're upset, don't put yourself around people that aren't going to build you up, because
Yes.
once you're down on the floor, the devil is there, and he's coming for you. And if you don't have somebody kicking him away so that you can get up, then stand alone. That's why a lot of times I am in my own little bubble, and I don't mess with anybody or anything, because I need to protect my energy. It's like if you can't breathe, you have to stop and you have to catch your breath, and you don't move. You stay still until you catch your breath. So,
Amen.
I
It's
think it's very, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's like you have to, if you're not in that place, to allow yourself to detox yourself a bit, to get yourself into a positive place, because thinking about what you are then giving to someone else. I mean, oftentimes I think that we're so attracted to the act because we need that sense of touch, that comfort, that
Yep.
connection, that,
Passion,
oh, the look in the eyes, just the whole feeling. But
which
when
you
we're
don't
not
always get.
no. And oftentimes when we're not in that good place emotionally, spiritually, ourselves, we're then giving that then to someone else. So I feel when someone isn't in their best place, maybe that's the time that abstain a bit and you detox so that you can focus on other things, building yourself up, so that when you engage with someone, you're giving them a piece of your best self.
And the flip side to that, be cognizant of yourself, so that if you're not in a good place, that you do not put that onto someone else. Like if I'm
Yes.
not doing well, I will say to somebody, you know what? I'm not very good company right now. I am not, like, and most of the times I won't get on the phone. My text messages will be very short. Like my girlfriend will be like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Why?" I didn't say no. I could tell by the way you're responding to me, something's wrong. So, you have to also be considerate to others. So don't be evil, So if you're in a mood, or guess what? You can be straight up and, listen, I'm in a mood. I need to get drunk and I need to like have sex for like the next 6 hours. Don't talk to me. Don't anything, but be straight up. So that person could say, you know what? I'm sorry that you're feeling that way, but I don't really want to, I'm not doing that. Or they might say, all right, I'm all in. So now they are able to tell themselves, they can prepare themselves, right? Spiritually, or however you want to call it, to say, this is just a romp in the hay, and I'm doing this to make somebody feel better. So it's all relative. So, I mean, that's the problem, is that most people perpetrate the fraud and they
Yeah.
are not forthcoming with what they're seeing. So now I have to read some of these comments. First of all, thank you guys again for tuning in to Sex Talk with Karen and Amy. We are talking
Thank
about,
you.
yes, we are talking about sex. Is it ever safe? And so, again, this is a multitude. We're talking about all aspects of it. We're not just talking about wearing a condom. And if you guys are listening and you like the show, hit the heart button, hit that follow button. If you're listening on the replay, make sure you follow. And I'm going to read some of the comments now. So Adrian said it's not only a matter of using condoms. The place where you get it on, the time you have sex, etc., is totally important. Because even though it's okay in terms of neatness, if you are not in a good mood, you're not going to have safe sex. Well, that's, and yes, Adrian, absolutely true about that, because you're not sharing properly. Hi, Ali. So yes, accountability, discard the rest. So okay, so Adrian was saying with the energy, yeah, take what you need and discard the rest that you don't need. So now India culture prepares for arranged marriage. What is your opinion? So that's probably like an entire show,
Yeah.
but I would say that I would assume, right? Now we didn't grow up this way, right, Amy? But
No.
the whole point to an arranged marriage, right, is because you have two families that, based upon what they know about you, they are choosing someone that they feel is the right partner for you for the rest of your life, right? So, and I think that prearranged marriages, and I could be wrong, and you can chime in on this with the comments. You're younger when I think in those type of cultures, right? Once you become a woman or a man, that's when you are prepared for marriage, if you will. So I think it's a very difficult thing for people that don't grow up in that culture to really truly embrace, because you are in that culture, you're raised that this is your next step, if you will, as opposed to in cultures that don't raise their children that way. We think very, very differently. So in response to the culture and preparing for arranged marriages, as I've gotten older and I see what the world is all about, I kind of get it. Would I want that? I don't think so, but if I don't know any better, maybe. But the grass is not always greener. And if you're choosing marriage, a partner, and you're looking at, it's kind of like, I hate to compare it, right? But there's like a dating app. What the hell is the name of it? There's a dating app. I forget the name of it. eHarmony, I think. And they base it off of like questions and your background and all of these things. And it's not based off of chemistry, right? So it's different. And I think when we get, ironically, you either have to be young enough or old enough, because anything in between, I think your rationale comes into play, and so does your chemistry and all of that. What do you think, Amy?
This subject is wowing to me, because it culturally, that's not something that we explore here. And so
Right.
I agree with you. I think that when someone accepts that that is the way of life, you already are, your mind is already accepting of that, positive, that willing to do that. So it's such a hard subject for me to discuss, because that isn't a part of my life. So if all of a sudden my family, when I was 18 years old, said, "This is what you're going to do," I would have given them a
Right.
woo.
Hell.
It,
Right.
it,
Yeah.
it, I would have been boxing and,
Right.
absolutely not. But I
Out of
think,
here.
yeah, no, no. And so I
Yep.
would have got the Nikes on and would have been running. But,
Right.
I think when you accept that from day one, that's what you know. And so you're
Yes.
already accepting of it and positive of it, and it will absolutely work in your favor. I believe that everything is always working in our favor. So if that is culturally what we do, it will work out because that
Well,
we've
and
accepted that.
again, if you take that to a level in which we're trying to discuss right now, right? Especially India, like, these countries are very spiritual.
Yes.
So, that again is maybe protecting, their aura, their hearts, their souls. So it's a very, like, for us, I mean, I'm just touching on this subject since you asked the question. I'm going with that, but I think it's very, like, it is difficult for us to see it. But the same way that they're asking this question and we're saying, well, we see it this way, well, you see it this way. It's a good perspective because it makes people think outside the box, because now, you don't have sex until marriage, right? When you're, in most cultures, right? So now you are protecting yourself, because at that point, then technically sex should be safe, right? Because you're with someone who is your human, your person that is there to serve you and protect you. So in essence, that should be safe sex. Unless, of course, they're not a good human. And then you're right back into the same situation that we're talking about. But
Right.
so it's an interesting thing, right? To flip that around.
Absolutely. Well, and I think too, in that culture, the man is accepting of it and the woman. So it's not just the woman accepting, the both
Correct.
parties are virgins. That is their person. This is the foundation that's being built from day one. And yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about. And I sit there and think about, wow, I mean, think about, Karen, the first person that you had sex with. What would
Yep.
life be like today if you were still with that man?
Right. Well, and again, that's and so, again, the grass isn't always greener. And this is the funny part about life, is that, you are able to be with one person and be happy for the rest of your life.
Yes.
But in our culture, in our society, we look at it as, what are my options? I mean, this is the world. And now, especially, forget about it. What are my options?
Forget about it now with all the options. That's a whole.
Options. I mean, it's like I always compare it to the dessert cart. Like if you go out to dinner and, like, like, oh, you know what? I'm getting, well, we'll go back to my steak and potato analogy, right? So I'm getting my steak and potatoes, and when dessert, I'm definitely getting tiramisu because that's my favorite. And then all of a sudden they come over with the dessert cart and there's 8 other desserts on there. And I'm like, oh, that one looks good. Oh, wait, what's that? Oh, that looks good. Oh, what's in that? Oh, is that? Oh, and now I went from I'm getting tiramisu to 8. Ooh, what's that? Maybe I want
Yeah.
that. Right? So
Yeah.
that's the power of suggestion, right? And if you're on a dating app, there was a dating app I was on years ago, and it was the same thing. You're answering messages from people, and there's a carousel above it with all the people that well, if you like John, you might like Bob. And, and it's like right there. So it's like, how about just letting people message the person that they think they're interested in, instead of trying to show them that there are 80 more people here that you might be interested in. So this is the download, right? Is that we have all of this stimuli around us. And if we aren't mentally strong, spiritually strong, how do we sift through it?
Right. It's a tough one. And to allow that, when we are engaging in a relationship with someone, to give them our focus and our time, and to not get distracted by the 80 other dessert
Right.
plates.
Yep. Yep.
It's like we've got to disconnect from that dessert cart. That one's, it's out of here. And to
Right.
give that person some focus and time and good energy, and see where it develops from there. Because if two people are, interested in each other, we've got to clear that distraction away for now. Like, nope, not doing it. I don't
Well,
want
and
that
that's
dessert.
right. It's just like, if you're out with somebody and they're constantly on their phone, put the
Oh,
fucking phone down.
yes.
Hello? And it's the same thing. And that's the whole problem, is that people are all over the place and they got to center their energy and stuff. So it's funny. So
Yeah.
she just said, how much condom prevent HIV? Well, we're not really speaking about that at the moment. I don't have statistics on that, to be quite honest with you, because I am 52 years old, and I'm not really having sex with multiple partners, worried about STDs. But, obviously, safe sex is safe sex. My personal opinion is, if you think that wearing, if you're with somebody that you think is questionable, it's like, okay, if you go and you get, let's say, sushi at a restaurant that's questionable, the odds are you may or may not get sick from it, right? So I'd rather just not eat it than, trust a place that's there. So it's kind of the same thing. If I'm going to have sex with somebody and I'm not sure whether or not they have an STD, I would prefer not to have sex with them, and just go on, the era of caution, because I'm not thinking that this plastic thing, rubber thing, that's made God knows where, is going to protect me, and my life. So, I mean, obviously, you never know, because people could look a certain way and still be, infected or whatever. But again, goes back to your gut, right? So, as far as condoms and HIV and all that, I cannot confirm nor deny. I am not a condom specialist, but my thoughts on that is, certainly, if you feel that you need that many condoms, go have sex with somebody else.
Yes, exactly. Because I think all of our brains kind of, I know I'm not alone in this, that when you are getting close to getting to that point with someone, your brain does sit there and start to think about, I wonder who else they've been with. Your brain just kind of automatically starts to think about those things. So if you're concerned and feel like you need to have that rubber, that whatever, then maybe there needs to be some more discussion and some thought behind some of that before you go skin to skin contact with someone.
Right.
Because, but we do get caught up in the moment a lot, and
Right.
all bets are off.
Right.
And but
Well, and it's funny
I
because
shouldn't
I
say a
have that.
lot, but
Well, it's again, going back to what I said in the beginning of the show, right? There is, the animalistic part of sex, and, all bets are off sometimes. And I try to tell my son is 13, and I have these conversations with him, and I say, and he's like, oh my God, how would they not? And blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, good that you feel that way, but you're going to be with, you could be in a situation, there's some hot girl and she's telling you, don't worry about it, come on, come on, and it could be the biggest mistake of your life. I said, so, sometimes you have to make sure you're thinking with the right head, so,
yeah.
um we all have to do that, and we have to check ourselves. So I think that that's probably the biggest takeaway. And I think it's always the takeaways from my shows, but in this show particularly, is sex ever safe? I think the takeaway to that is, you really have to be, aware. You have to be self-aware, and you have to be, in control, I guess, right? And you have to know what you want out of it. If you just want to romp in the hay, then I think energetically you need to, go about it that way. But the problem I think that happens a lot is that people, they mistake sex for love, or sex for what would be the right word? I mean,
Just even
love,
like a deeper
attention,
connection. Yeah.
right? Attention, right? And sometimes it's not even a deeper connection; it's just sex. And I think that in order for you not, in order for it to be safe sex, I think you have to have the proper expectations. What
Yeah.
are you thinking? Right?
Oh, I agree with you. Just with how you go into it with your mindset. And like I spoke about earlier, it's like whatever it is that you feel that you, I don't like to use the word need from someone, but I think when we allow our brain to focus on the positive energy from that person, what we're gaining together. And I think that that's just so important.
Yep. And
Yeah.
again, just to recap, for anybody that's just joining us, and I always like to leave people on a positive note. So you guys are listening to Sex Talk with Karen and Amy, and we are talking about is sex ever safe? So, to recap on that one, Amy brought up a very good point. So if you, have had multiple partners or whatever the case, or even just one partner, and, you after sex, you're feeling different. You're not feeling like yourself. You have to really look into that, because as Amy pointed out, when you are having sex with somebody, you are kind of downloading, energetically what they come with, whether that's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's positivity, whether it's happiness, whatever the case may be. So you have to, keep all of those things in mind, and then you have to kind of review. So it's kind of like, if for those of you that have children, right? When we first start to feed our children, they tell us, okay, just give them cereal. And then after, like, I don't know, a week or whatever, now you can introduce a fruit and only give them that fruit for like a week, and then you can introduce another fruit a week later. And why do they do that? They do that because just in case they happen to be allergic to it, or it doesn't agree with them, you know which one it is that you need to eliminate. So if you're with somebody and you're having sex and you're feeling a certain way, afterwards, you have to go back in and say, okay, when did I feel this way? Or is this mine? And so Amy brought a really good suggestion, in the sense of, she said, write down your partner, write down their pros, write down their cons, so to speak, or more so how you felt, pros and cons on how you felt when you were around them. And then you have to figure out, like, okay, well, Harry was definitely, not the best person for me. So Amy suggested, write it down on a piece of paper and burn that bad boy, and
Burn it.
release that, right, and release that energy from you. But you can't do that unless you are in tune and you are cognizant of those things. So I see Chic. What about virginity? Mainly Indian culture, looking for that in marriage. Um, I love the fact that you are asking all of these amazing questions. It definitely is a little off topic right now. Definitely, if you want to send me a message, or I can address that on another show, I'm happy to do so. Again, I think that's just a cultural thing. It's a personal thing, it's a cultural thing. And I think when it comes to sex, I think everybody should do what works for them. And that's just my own personal, that's my own beliefs. But that is
But
definitely a
for
different,
if, if I could interject though,
go ahead.
too, kind of what we're suggesting or talking about today too, with releasing some of this energy from people that, ex partners and their ex partners, we're
Yep.
trying to help others maybe establish kind of a new beginning. a sense of virginity. So if we've
Right.
had previous experiences that we would like to release out of our mind, body, and spirit, that this is a way that someone can do that. And, I had an appointment with a medium, Karen, about a year ago. And do you know what something that she did every single time I would meet with her? She would smudge me. She would sage me. So that's
Uh-huh.
another thing to consider, because that's going to help release any negative attachments that someone might have. Another thing that you can do, if you didn't want to write their names on a piece of paper and burn it, you can also write their names on a balloon. And I love that too. And then release the balloon. It's just
Mm.
that sense of releasing spiritually, mentally, physically, that person and people that they have engaged with, in sex too, out of you.
Well,
So,
I believe in that too. I'm big on the water for that. I think that
yes.
I like to let it all go. That's why I am so calm. I know, like you just moved to the water. I mean, that is my happy place. I'm basically ready to move in with you. But yeah, I mean, I totally, I mean, you go to the water and release it. Even if you don't write
Yes.
it down, even if you don't, whatever, you stand there and you release it. It's just a matter of being in control and understanding what you're feeling and what you're doing. So that's what I want to leave everybody with today, because, is sex ever safe? It's an open-ended question. And the short of it is, yeah, it totally can be. But we wanted you to think about it other than condoms or whatever, okay, yes, we all advocate for safe sex, but you could have safe sex and still not be safe, because your heart and your soul, are still part of you, and your energy and your aura and your spirituality. So the best advice that we can give you is be aware of it. And once you are aware of it and it no longer it doesn't belong to you, it never belonged to you, you downloaded someone else's file, get rid of it. I think that's the best advice that we can give. So, Amy, I got to ask you a question.
Okay, go for it.
What did you have fun today?
Oh my gosh, I had so much fun. And it was so nice to connect with you guys and meet you guys. And I love this show. So hopefully you guys continue to follow and watch. And because Karen has such amazing energy, and I'm sure you guys feel that connection from her.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, yes, first of all, yes, we appreciate that, and we hope everybody stays with us. But I had approached you a while back, and I was telling you that my new thing, I was adding co-hosts to the show, so maybe we can do this on a regular basis, maybe like once a month or something, and we can build something on here and continue, because although we do different things, we kind of do the same thing.
Yeah,
We're here to try to help others, to grow, and to be self-aware and improve themselves. So I always talk about the pink elephant in the room. It's not always easy to have people talk with me about the pink elephant in the room. That's why I started Sex Talk in the first place, because it's so taboo. And I like to talk about the things that most people don't like to talk about, because those, in my opinion, are the things that actually make a difference. So,
absolutely.
yeah, so I hope that we can do this again. If you guys like the show, hit the heart button so we know. And how about a relationship with a prostitute? Okay, Chic, I love you, sweetheart, but we're not going to talk about that right now. I do not condone that, but again, it's all about knowing what you want. Having sex with a prostitute means, business, and you know what you're all about. So I think everybody needs to do what works for them. So I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. We have had people on here from India, Iran. I'm not sure where else everybody was from. Nobody really. I didn't see too many other people state where they were from, but this is pretty awesome that our big mouths are being heard literally all over the globe. So Much appreciated that you guys joined us. And Amy, thank you so much for your time and sharing with us this. And hopefully, we gave people something to think about, in this respect, right?
Right. Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I had fun today.
Me too. All right. So thank you guys.
All right.
Listen, my next what am I doing now? I'm trying to think. I have to, so now interesting. I think this is a good follow-up too. Next week, I think I'm going to have one of my best friends that is a healer. I think she's gonna come on and chat with us. I think maybe Tuesday. I have to confirm. And then Friday, I have Frankie, who is a little hottie, Amy, and he's a youngin. He's like 28, but he also speaks a lot about like positivity and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have a couple of cool guests coming on. So I hope everybody stays tuned. I always post when the shows are gonna be up. So thank you guys all for joining us. Remember, tomorrow wasn't promised. Don't be an asshole today. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us today. And thank you for everybody that joined us. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so
Bye.
much,
Thank you.
Amy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.